Okay. Game of the year. Elden Ring or God of War Ragnarok. Now, in my opinion, it gotta be God of War Ragnarok. Elden Ring has way too many. Elden Ring has way too many basic flaws, like a decent UI. They did it well with Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. Actually, no. It's actually the same. It's actually the same UI from Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, just with like different font. You still gotta scroll down to get your flash. You still gotta scroll up to change spells. You know, you can de-equip weapons by clicking left or right. Clicking left or right on the D-pad. It's the same thing. They just never improved upon it. That's really it. The only brand new things are the Great Runes, Horse, open world exploration. That's really it. That's really it. Now God of War. Oh, you can God of War. All the Dark Souls game fanboys would say, "Oh, there's nothing new in fucking God of War." In God of War, yeah, that's because they have the formula, just like Dark Souls, just like Elden, just like Souls-based games do. They got the formula, right? So what do you do to that formula? You improve upon it to try and make it a little better. You don't change it or nothing. So what did they do? They're like, okay, you know. So what did Santa Monica do? They was like, okay, why don't we just make the game, more accessible for people? People with disabilities would try to play this game because it's getting pretty hyped up. So what do? They go, they go, and they go make it accessible. Button remapping. Button remapping is such a nice thing to have for people, so you can actually play the game. So people that have disabilities can actually play the game and not feel restricted. Not feel restricted. Sorry, paused. Elden Ring don't got that. So accessibility. God of War 1, Elden Ring 0 at the moment. Gameplay. Not gonna lie, I kind of like the game. Not gonna lie, the gameplay loop of Elden Ring is a little bit boring. Is boring as hell, especially in gank fights, because half the time you're playing so defensively you can't really do anything in Elden Ring. Let's take Margit for example. Margit, the first boss fight you face, has 2 openings where you can attack. Anything else? 2 safe openings where you can attack. Anything else is not safe. You will get hit the hit will connect, but you will get hit right after. It's where in the first phase where he does the one little spin attack where he spins with the cane and then tries to hit you with the tail. You can roll into both of those and you can get some hits off. That's the first one. The second one is where he charges up the cane attack. You get mighty where he'll charge up the cane attack and he'll slam down. You dodge that, you can get some hits in because he'll stand there. Now you go. Now in fucking God of War, there are no guaranteed safe hits. You need to remember. You can go in and wail on the boss if you fucking want to, but they give you certain attacks to dodge. The yellow ones, I'm pretty sure the yellow ones are parryable. The red ones you have to dodge. There's no discussing it. So you can be wailing in on the boss, and all you got to do is dodge. And then all I'm about to hear is from the Dark Souls fanboys is, oh, well that makes the game too easy if you know what's coming. Said, yeah, but how do you think fucking Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 worked? They all had coordinated moves, so you knew which move was coming if you needed to knew which move to coming. Because if they didn't, every fight would look like Godric's fucking wind-up spin attack that has no wind-up. It just goes. You don't even see it coming half the time. So, God of War 1, Elden Ring still 0 at that point. Now the gameplay was also combat. The combat in fucking Elden Ring can be summed up in this: hit if he's going to swing, roll. If it's a delayed attack, wait, roll. Wait, roll. Or you're wearing a buckler shield, parry, riposte. He gets back up and throws an attack. Roll, wait for your openings, rinse and repeat. That is all. Meanwhile, in God of War, there's multiple enemies, and when there's multiple enemies on the screen, the game actually feels fun and playable, unlike Elden Ring, where if there's 5 or more enemies attacking you, it feels unfair, because if you roll out one attack, your iframes only last for so long in Elden Ring, and you get stabbed, you get stunned, and you get stunned again, stunned again, stunned again, and you get that little frame to roll out, but guess what? Your iframes only last a second, so once you get out that second and something's getting ready to hit you, boop, stunned again. That's why gank fights in Elden Ring are so fucking annoying to play. Like, I know what they try to do. They try to replicate Orange Seed and Smoke from Dark Souls 1. Because that boss is a great duo boss. Because they actually feel like a duo and not like 2 separate entities trying to beat the shit out of you. Godskin Duo. They share 1 health bar. Thank God, because if there's 2, the Elden Ring community would have fucking lost their goddamn minds. And they don't even fight like a duo anymore. He has his own separate moves that don't even counterplay with his. The Godskin Noble doesn't even have moves that counterplay with the Apostles. Literally. When the Apostle does the little... Now, I forget, like, which one's which. So, the fat one, when the fat Godskin does the little jump in the air and slams down and he starts to fucking roll, you can't dodge that. You have to hope to God that it ends quicker than you think. Fire Giant, you know how overpowered fire is on the enemy side of this? It goes through walls. But that's damn near almost everything with Elden Ring. Everything can go through wall if you angle it at the right thing. From spells to regular weapons, they can go through walls. Which is annoying, because you can blatantly be behind a certain object. You know, trying to play it safe, trying to calculate your next move. Oh, but guess what? Here comes a sword clipping through the wall. Dink! Dink! Up, killed you. Now you gotta run all the way back. Back and get your runes. The fucking, the Storm Knights are the worst offenders of this. Especially that one in the Stormvale Castle if you take the shortcut way around instead of through the gate. And you open that door and all you hear is he out of nowhere. It scared the shit out of me the first time, not gonna lie. But, God of War, in God of War, nothing clips through the wall because everything's open when you are fighting. Everything's open when you are fighting. I understand these are 2 different genres of games, but they're both competing for Game of the Year, so you gotta compare the 2. So, at this point, it's God of War 3-zip at the moment. Not gonna lie, the God of War soundtrack and Elden Ring soundtrack, I would honestly give them both the points because the Elden Lord, the Elden Ring like intro is pretty good, and some of the boss fight music are just so beautiful. Like Godric's, it's like a holy tone, but it's like a fallen from grace with all like the grafted parts and shit on it. It's like a horrific type holy beat. It's crazy what they did with God of War. It's crazy what they did with Elden Ring. So honestly, they got that for the soundtrack in my opinion. Cause in God of War, you kind of know when like a main thing in the story, bad or good, is going to happen. Whether we hear the or the woman going like 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 normal shit like that. So honestly, I'll give that point to Elden Ring. Alright, now we're going to get to the endgame content. Well, basically the endgame's the same, but instead of leveling up, you just, you get armor for it, so I'm giving that one to God of War. Because, being real, you don't get anything new. Sure, you might get a couple thousand runes to upgrade, but in reality, you're just going through the same bosses again until you hit max level. And you don't even have to be in New Game Plus to do so. You can literally just farm runes on New Game 1 and hit max level if you wanted to. So there's not really an incentive of hitting max level. It's not really an incentive, because half the time, stats don't fucking matter. Stats don't matter in Elden Ring. You wanna know why? Why I know stats don't matter? Because there are damn near 5 items that increase your stats with the talismans. there are like so many items that increase your stats with the talisman, especially with the little physic. The physic makes the physic breaks the entire game because this physic is like, okay, guess what? You can put two things in there: a strength knot tier to increase your strength by 10, or is it 5? It's probably 10. My guess it's 10 because you know, strength knot tier. Radagon Sword increases vigor, mind, stamina, and strength. And I'm pretty sure dexterity by 5, but you take more damage. In Elden Ring, there are so many. You can deadass beat the entire game at a level 1 as level 1 and one-shot bosses. You can't do said you can do that in God of War. Yeah, sure. Do a no upgrade run, but it's actually, but there's no builds for you to use. It's actually challenging, but there's no builds for you to use. There's nothing you can use. You use the regular thing. You use everything at level 1, and you run through the game. And you complete the game. You run through the game. Sure, it's going to be challenging just like Elden Ring. But the thing about Elden Ring is, you can still run at level 1 and still have these cool-ass weapons. Cool-ass weapons that can one-shot. Cool-ass build that can one-shot. Because all you need is a stat requirement. All you need is a stat requirement, and there's so many things that give you a perfect stat requirement. Can't do that in God of War. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Game of the Year. God of War's winning for sure. If it doesn't, if it doesn't win, Game of the Year is rigged. I'm gonna upload another video later, tomorrow probably, maybe even today. This is your boy 04124 signing off, and thank you for listening to my rant, because this shit is real.